What's up, CJ?
Hello.
Hello. And hi,
Wait,
Diana.
talk again, Jill.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep, can hear you
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I forgot my headphones at home, but whatever. We're going with it.
Yep,
It's all good.
it's good. I can never get my husband tells me it's a user error, but my headphones like never sync to my computer correctly. So half the time I'll have like wired ones. It's okay.
That's okay.
I'll
No
get there
one's
one.
no one's mad at you about it.
That's right.
All good. It's all good. Um, okay, so I think I'm ready to rock and roll. We're gonna see how this
Okay.
goes.
Yes. Oh, it's going to be perfect, actually.
If we have a win, what a 5 people is a win.
Five people's definitely a win. And we'll see. I actually would say, not that I like to delay it, but we'll get more. I usually feel like between 12:03, 12:05, people
Yeah,
start to pop on,
yeah, it's
but we'll have some.
pretty classic realtor time.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
You're in the office today?
Yeah.
Just so you know, we've got lots of food from last night.
Yeah, I know. I saw it all kind of sitting around.
Hmm.
Um, Last night was good. I thought it went well.
It seemed like a really good energy.
I
Like
think
it
so.
seemed like everyone was having fun and just,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a good vibe.
People were loving the 360 camera. That was a big hit.
Yes, I'll take credit for that. Just kidding. No, that was like a last throw in, like, what can we do that's fun? And yeah, I think it was.
How much was it to rent that? Not to
Um,
get too like
I think
$100 or
like
like $1,000.
five 500.
Yeah. Okay. So not like super cheap, but not terrible.
Correct. And that is America's Preferred sponsor that.
Oh, that's cool.
Mhm. So that was good. I thought at first when I saw the thing people were standing on, I thought it spins. And I was like, there's no way I can get on that thing.
That's what
Like,
we thought.
but then I realized the camera actually spins, not you. It's not like a mechanical bull. Perfect. And CJ, will you need access to share your screen?
Yeah, please. Yeah, I figured like I have a thing that I used in the past. I think it'll just be easier for me to for so like just so people can follow along.
Yes.
And I'm
Yeah.
end up sharing my like web toolbar also or whatever you
Okay.
call it.
Perfect. All right. I would say we can go ahead and get started. And we record it. We'll start it from here and put it on the website. CJ, thank you so much for being with us today. Everyone always says that you are like the greatest of all time as far as the 411 and goal setting and business planning goes. So we are very excited to have you on and ready to share all the wealth of knowledge that you are.
Yeah, thank you, Jill. I appreciate it. So it's, Jill and I were talking the other day of like, how do we, like, what's a class that we can put on, or how can I help in some way, going into the spring to kind of launch people in the right direction. It's to me, it's really interesting, like coming into the beginning of the year, we do all this like planning it, like at the end of the year, then, January, February come, you're like, okay, but then as like the spring market really hits, and March comes along, to me, it's like March 1st is like the sign of spring coming in. So it's like, okay, how do we know if we're going to be on the right track? Because sometimes in this business, December, January, February, they're a little iffy. They typically end up being our lowest month. So how do you go into March and how do you go into the spring and explode to make sure that you're on track to hitting your goals? So for me, we basically have 3 steps to going through this. I know we have an hour, but I feel like we'll probably be able to get through most of this and, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes. Like, I don't know if it necessarily is going to be a full
That's
hour.
fine.
Yes. So just to run through it, I think, and I'm going to share my screen if that's all right with you, Jill, if I can.
Yes, you should be able to.
Yeah. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Perfect. So 3 steps to crushing the spring market with your business plan. But like I was saying, going into like March, April, May, June, going into the months where we tend to get busier, I think it's important to like really know what you want in your business. There's a big saying, if any of you guys have heard me speak before, I'm a big believer in like, if you don't know what you want, you don't know how to get it, you don't know where to go, and you're probably following someone else's calendar, someone else's schedules, and someone else's priorities. So for me, when I look at like, okay, where's the first place to start in this conversation? And to me, the biggest question is it's literally, what do you want? Like, what do you want to have happen this year? And most people just kind of float through life, and they float through a year, or they float through a quarter, or they float through a month or a week or a day. And they actually don't know what they want. So they don't know what to focus on. So they just end up floating, and then they don't hit goals, and they look up in 5 or 10 or 15 years and go, why aren't I doing the things that I want? Like, why don't I have the life that I want? And in my opinion, it starts with like, okay, how do you figure out what you want? So I'm going to read through this Harvard study. I know it's on your screen, but this is one of my favorites. And if you've ever taken bold, it's like, I kind of took it, and we condensed it a little bit from there. But it's the Harvard study on goal setting. So in 1979, the Harvard MBA study on goal setting analyzed the graduating class to determine how many had set goals for their attainment. The graduating class was asked a single question about their goals in life. And the question is literally very similar to what I asked you guys earlier. Do you have goals? It's in my mind, it's what do you want? Have you thought about what you want? So prior to graduation, it was determined that 84% of the entire class had no goals at all. 13% of the class had goals, but were not written down. And 3% of the class had clearly written goals. And so the results 10 years later, 13% of the class that had goals, but had not wrote them out, were earning twice as much money as the 84% of the class that had set no goals at all. 3% of the class that had clearly written goals were earning 10 times as much as the rest of the 97% of the class. So it doesn't make sense to take time to write your goals out. So for me, like that study shows that like if somebody does not have their goals clearly written out, they're doing themselves a disservice, and they potentially could be losing out on a lot of money if they don't know what they want. So going into this exercise, and I told everyone to bring pens as they're coming into it. So we're going to set some goals for the year. If you don't have them, if you have them, great, pull them out. We're not going to spend a whole ton of time on this. I thought it was important to look at like what is important for the year and actually write it out. And when I write out goals, I typically it's personal or personal financial, and then business and jobs. So I like to separate them out to make sure it's different. And so what we can do is we can write out 3 or 4 goals on each right now. If you already have them, great, write them out. For personal example, I always put like, what's something that you want to have happen in your life, or what's something that you want to do. Again, if it's something that you want, you know how to get there. So install new flooring in my kitchen and living room. And I always like to have a net worth goal, because why not? The goal of working is to get money, and then the goal of money to me is to actually create wealth. So that's a conversation for another day. But if you're not tracking your net worth, send me an email and I can send you my email tracker. I'm always happy or my net worth tracker. I'm always happy to share that. So might as well track your net worth. If you don't know, take some time to figure it out. If it's 0, put 0. If it's negative, you got to start somewhere, but it's just kind of knowing where you're at now and then knowing where you want to go. Right. So if your net worth goal is, $300,000 or $100,000, or to literally just be at 0 and not negative, like that's cool. Put it in there. So then business to job, my example here, hire a maps coach. I think everybody should have a coach in some capacity or a mentor. So I just had that as an example as a business or job goal. And this is where, if you want to put in your production or like, money goals, or like, I want to sell 25 houses this year. I want to hit 4 million. I want to hit $100,000 in GCI, whatever that looks like. I want to take 15 listings, like whatever that looks like in here, put it in this goal. And we're Keller Williams, and, we get money through profit share. So you might as well have a profit share goal of some sort in there. So if you guys are on the call, go ahead and write your goals in there. I don't know, Jill, if you have any questions as I'm going through this, feel free to stop me. Or if anybody.
I did want to ask you, CJ. So I think oftentimes I do this, so I'm going to ask it. I love the Gary Keller quote that is, we vastly overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but vastly underestimate what we can do in 5. Sometimes, I don't know what advice you would give to this, but sometimes I struggle with what's too big. Like, do I want to push myself with this huge goal? And even if I don't achieve it, I've definitely gained traction. Or is it better to set like a more achievable goal? Do you have any?
Yeah, that's always a big question. And by the way, before I answer that, you guys don't have this worksheet, but you can literally just write it down on a piece of paper, or if you have a journal, or if you're typing notes on your computer, or email it to yourself, whatever the easiest way is for you to do it. But you don't have this. If you want to copy this, I'm happy to share it with you also. Jill, honestly, I think everybody's a little bit different on what their goal setting should look like. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule for anybody. Actually, one of my first team leaders when I came to Keller Williams, he used to say, which I don't know if I completely agree with it, but he says, if you shoot for the moon and you hit the stars, like, it's still a win. It's the same old, like, if you aim to climb Mount Everest and you only get halfway there, is that better than, just climbing the hill in your backyard? So, like, I guess, I don't know, like, I've set extreme goals. For me, my extreme goals are my longer term goals, but my a little bit more realistic goals are 1 year goals, and then maybe even a little bit bigger and a 5 year goal. So like if you sold 18 houses last year, let's just say, for example, like, I probably would go from I wouldn't set a goal from 18 and now this year sell 100. Like, can you do it? Yeah, you probably can. Like, I think you also want to have some like regular expectations of what you can do in a year. I'm not to say that you can't do that, but I think, like, going from 18 to 50, I think that's still a big goal, and it's a good jump. And like, then we'll talk about that later. It's like, what are you going to do different from selling 18 houses to 50 houses? And that's where it gets like a little bit more specific in how that goes. So I don't set massive short-term huge goals. Like, but my 5, 10 someday goals are large. Just something to shoot for. And anybody in here feel like
sorry. I was just going to say, I love that you have personal along with professional, because you look at this, like, sometimes the personal might even motivate us more. Like, I really want that new flooring in my kitchen, and that might be money that is extra money you want. So setting that, like, it just overflows into your business. So I think it's really important having both personal and professional. And when it's right in your personal life, it seems like business life is always easier. So I love that you have both of these on here.
100%. And most people, if they're not nailing their personal life, they may not be able to nail their business life either. So, like, usually it starts with the personal, the working out, or the mental health, or the eating, or the, whatever your kind of personal habits are, that overflows, or your relationships, like, that overflows into your business pretty heavily. Well, so let's keep going. So we have our yearly goals, and then how do we chunk it down? So I'm a quarterly goal kind of guy. I'm all goal kind of guy, but for me, like, I like to run in 3-month bursts. Like, a yearly goal, cool, but like, how do you know if you're on track for that? And sometimes I think monthly goals are great also, but for me, like, a 3-month goal is a good measurement for, like, am I on track to hit my goal? Then you have 3 months to actually look at how you're doing. So let's take the next couple minutes and go through, and let's set goals for quarter 2, which starts in less than a month. And to me, this is like revving up the springtime, right? This is where it starts. This is where you start to go, like, okay, so in April, May, and June, what do I want to accomplish? And I'm not going to show you, but I track all my personal numbers, and I break them down by quarter. Like, I do 3-month bursts. So then, like, so if you have a bad month or a bad few weeks, it doesn't like completely throw you off track. You go, okay, well, I know I have 3 months to win this race of the year. So again, same thing. We separate personal, financial, and business and job. So I use the same examples in this, but for quarter 2, so maybe for the year, let's just use an example. If you were going to, for the year, you want to sell, I don't know, let's just use listings. Let's say you want to sell 10 listings for the year. So for quarter 2, you might go, okay, so knowing how real estate works, and that it's cyclical and seasonal and everything, January, February, March, your listing goal might be a little bit smaller than as spring comes up. Q2, it's going to be a little bit higher. Then Q3, it's going to be a little bit even higher from there based on seasonality. Then in Q4, it's going to go back down. And then Q1, it's going to be about the same. Then so it goes up. So just knowing how the business works, you might want to set your quarter two goals a little bit higher than your first quarter goals, but also get you on track to get to your yearly goals. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to go through. So we're not going to take a ton of time doing this, but I just for me, like having those short bursts to me is the most important part of like quarter by quarter instead of year by year. So then you go, cool. All right, I have 3 months to hit. I'm gonna go on 12 listing appointments in the next 3 months, right? So then it's like, cool. Now it's like if you maybe it's two in April, maybe 4 in May, and then whatever that is, whatever the difference would be, and then the rest would be in June. Any questions from anybody on any of that?
I would like to add, CJ, I love that the way you chunked that down, because I think when I first started in my previous industry, I wasn't goal setting at all. And when I first started goal setting, I realized that I'd have a yearly goal. And then once you break it down to quarter, it was really easy if you've taken bold and understand like the big rocks, the pebbles, and the sand. Like I would have my big rock as a yearly goal, and then for a quarter goal, it would be something that almost wasn't even related to what my yearly goal is, and would lose sight of that. So I like the way you streamlined that and chunked it down.
Good. I'm glad. I appreciate that. So I'm gonna keep moving here. So we have our goals. So we know what we want, right? So now that we know what we want, like the thing to achieve, now we're gonna get a little bit more granular, and we're gonna do some actual business planning here. And we're gonna look at, this is my version of the economic model from the MREA book. What I did a few years ago is I created a spreadsheet so that you can actually plug in your numbers specifically to yourself. So you don't have to go through it. You don't have to do all the math, all the formulas, all the things. Like I geeked out and just created this. So we're going to go through it. If you guys are on your computers, obviously, open up your laptop and you can go to this website. It's jointrivteam.com/plan. And I'm going to show you what this looks like live here. And if you guys can do it, follow along, or you can kind of go through it as we're plugging through here. Can you guys see? No,
hey,
that's
CJ.
Yeah.
Oh, can you put the link in the box in the chat?
I certainly can.
I was actually doing that now.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, great idea. So once you click the link, it'll show this. It's like this little box that's a clickable link. This is just the easiest way that I could ever figure out how to do this. So once you get in here, you're going to click this link and it's going to open up this. You guys can see this spreadsheet. Can everybody see the spreadsheet? Yeah. So looking like this first, like where my mouse is moving, make a copy of this file first, because if you start adding numbers into this, everyone's going to be able to see it and everyone's going to edit the same thing. So what you do is if you click on file, so you see where my mouse is, click on file, click make a copy, and then just put whatever, Diana's, whatever you want to name it. Right. And then just literally, like, if you want to do any of those, I wouldn't click any of those. If you're a big Google Drive person, save it to somewhere that you want to. If not, just make a copy. And then you literally have your own copy of it. So now I have just Diana's economic model here. So you're not editing the kind of the default template for everybody else. If anybody is having problems with this, let me know. Can anybody not get in there? Or does anybody not know how to make a copy? So again, to make a copy, you go under the name of it, under the business planning workshop numbers, click file, and then click make a copy, and then name it to, whatever, Jill Jackson's, 2023 economic model, however you want that to look. And this is essentially, it's a cheat sheet that I created to make things easier for everybody as they're going through. If you're working ahead, only edit the numbers in red. If you edit the numbers in black, it's going to throw off all the formulas and you have to start from scratch and do it again. But remember, make a copy of it first, click file, make a copy, only edit the numbers in red. If anybody has questions, feel free to put it in the chat or ask away. Okay, good. So with this, the first box in red that we want to edit, it's our desired net income. And this is pre-taxes, so this does not include taxes. So let's just say this person, for example, actually, let me pause there. All the way in the bottom, you see the tabs. You see that this one says solo agent. And then there's one next to it that says agent on a team, or if they're not KW. And then the reason for this is they most likely have a split. Like if you're on a team, you're on a split. Like, for example, I don't know, let's just say you're on a 50-50 split on average. And then your cap being on a team would be $5,000 if that's what it is. If there's anybody who's not with Keller Williams who's watching this, I don't know, let's just say you're on a 60-40 split. This is your split to you. So if you get 60%, put that in there. And then put your expenses, if you have, I don't know, $20,000 a year in expenses, that's what you put in there. But if you're on a team, you put the $5,000 cap, and then whatever like your average split is. I know some people have different tiers of different things, but if you're on a team, put whatever that is to you. And then if you're a Rainmaker, it's a little bit different also. So go to the team Rainmaker one. So this example, if you want to make $150,000, if you know your profit margin, add your profit margin in there. If you're going to guess, use 35, use 30, use 40. If you have a smaller team, the higher it's probably going to be ish. A bigger team, it might be smaller depending on your expenses and things like that. So I'm gonna stick with solo agent today just because it's the kind of the smoothest to go through, and usually most people go along with that one. So remember, we only edit the numbers in red. Let's just say in this example, I'm gonna make $100,000 this year. And if you're a solo agent, I put some notes in there if you hover over that. We're gonna use 70% because if you're on your own, you most likely don't have a massive amount of expenses. If you have administrative people or you buy leads, and your expenses are going to creep up a little bit on you, but they're business expenses, not personal expenses. And then our cap, if whatever your cap is, however we whatever you chose, and we were able to pick whatever we wanted. In this situation, I did 15,000. Does anybody have any questions with me so far? And Jill, if I'm going too slow or too fast, let me know.
No, this is amazing. Thank you so much.
Cool. So in this one, it gives you, I need 157,000 in gross commission income to net $100,000. We all know like your GCI does not, it's not a one-to-one to your net income to like how much money you actually make. Like unfortunately in this business, GCI is the number that's kind of put out there, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the net that you make. So in this example, for this solo agent, they need to have a GCI of $157,000 to net 100 grand. So now what you're going to do is you're going to start on this left side. You're going to go into sellers. And so you're going to kind of answer these questions. Again, only edit what's in red. And you have to keep the percentage symbol in there. I feel like I have a lot of rules in this, but you don't want to throw the whole sheet off. So start with sellers. What percentage of your business comes from listings? If you're newer in the business, you're a newer agent, like this is going to be lower. Like, let's just say that it's going to be 20%. Okay. And then you can go over to the right side. So then what percentage of your business comes from buyers? So then these have to equal 100%. So we're going to put 80 there. Okay. So then keep going with me. So then you can, if you don't know these numbers, you can make some assumptions or you can guess. So your average GCI from listings, put it in here. Again, if you don't know, make an educated guess. If it's 6,000, cool. If it's 5,000, cool. Like, I don't know. I think my team is like, I don't know, 6,800 or something like that. It might be a little higher. It might actually be 7,200. I think that's what it is. So then GCI for buyers could be a little bit lower because of how Cleveland we pay the 3% of the first 100,000 and 2% of the balance, which is super annoying. But it is what it is. So let's just call it, let's just leave it at 5,200. Then average sale price for listings, call it whatever your average sales price is, enter it in there. And again, average sales price for the buyers. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? Okay. So then what happens is it spits out some numbers for you. It tells you how many listings you need to close. So this person needs 4 listings. And then it tells you how many buyers. So this person needs 24 buyers because of the 80-20, right? So you can always play with that. So let's just make it, maybe they're 40% and 60%. You can play with these numbers however you want based on either where you want to go or based on your past couple years. You can use an average if you want. But play with the numbers, feel free. If you have a higher GCI or lower GCI, depending on your average sale price, all these different things. So this person needs to sell 27 houses at 6.2 million to net, like true net $100,000. Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question, CJ.
Yeah.
When you just hovered up there, I noticed it said pre-tax. So
Mhm.
do you do anything like maybe in that profit section? Like, are you doing anything to figure out what taxes may be or not necessarily on this?
No, we like
Okay.
it's so hard and everyone's business is so different. Everyone's expenses are so different. Like if I were you, I would put aside like between 20 and 40% of your tax or like of your each GCI check for taxes. And then if you overshoot that, cool, then you have money left over at the end of the year. But you don't want to get in tax trouble in this business. I've had some friends that have gotten into tax trouble because they had a really big year and then they got a really big tax check or a tax bill. And that's not fun. So if you're selling a lot of houses and you're making money, make sure you put money aside for taxes because it can hurt you in the long run in this business.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. So this person, does that answer that, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. So this person wants to sell 27 houses and do 6.2 million. So now we want to break it down. We want to get like a little bit nitty gritty because sometimes when we look at these numbers go, okay, 27 houses I need to sell for 6 million. Like that's a ton. Like that seems like these really big numbers and our brain can't comprehend those sometimes. So we're going to break it down to the simple, to the nitty gritty. And so what we're going to do is now we're going to look at we're going to go all through sellers first. So what percentage of your listings sell? So if you go on 10 listing appointments, how many of those, if you take 10 listings, how many of those listings actually sell? So the market's been pretty strong as far as taking listings and selling them lately. So I'm going to say this person's a good listing agent and they sell 9 out of 10 of their listings, right? So that tells them this person needs to take 10 listings for the entire year. And then what percentage of your appointments do you take a listing? So if you go on 10 listing appointments, how many times do you take a listing? So again, if you take 10, let's say you're a pretty good listing agent, you probably take, 6 or 7 or 8. If most of your business comes from sphere of influence. If you're a big for sale by owner or expired, that percentage is probably going to go down. Like if your main source of business is for sale by owner, that's probably going to be like 30 or 40 or 50% because you have to go on a lot more appointments to get the same amount of listings because your sphere of influence, like if you go on an appointment with your cousin's friend, like, and you go on that appointment, you're probably going to get that listing. They're most likely not interviewing 3 agents. If you go on a FSBO appointment, who knows, maybe they list with another agent, maybe they don't list it, maybe they sell the house on their own. Like you have to go on more appointments and take more listings essentially. So this person needs 12 new listing appointments needed. And so then we break it down to the simple, like how do we make this as easy as we possibly can? So this person needs 1 new listing appointment per month. All they have to do is 1 new listing appointment a month. Okay. And then if you want to get like really nitty gritty, it's a smaller number. So like they don't even need an appointment a week. So they just need, so I like this number, it's super clean. This person needs 1 new listing appointment per month. And I say new, like you can't go on the same listing appointment a bunch of times. It has to be the first time appointment with somebody. So now let's go to the buyer side. What percentage of your committed buyers buy? This is one of those, like it's always if you sign a buyer rep agreement, cool. Like most people don't. So I would say like committed buyers buy. So if you have a buyer and you're showing them houses, what percentage of those buyers end up buying? For this person, I'd put 80%. Let's move it to 70%. It's probably a little more realistic. So this person needs, so again, if you have 10 buyers that you're showing houses, what percentage of those actually end up buying? How many of them do it? So this person needs 26 like committed buyers. And then you go down to what percentage of your appointments do you convert a buyer to a committed client? So I'm going to put 7 out of 10. So if you do 10 buyer consultations, you're going to convert 7 of those to a client of yours. So it's probably a reasonable number. Again, if you're heavy in your sphere of influence, that number is going to be higher. If you buy Zillow or you do like Ojo or OpCity or one of those kind of like lead aggregators, like your number might be a little bit lower. You have to meet more people to convert the same amount. So everyone's business is a little bit different. Put your percentage of what you think that number is. So this person needs 37 new buyer appointments for the year. Or to break it down again to the nitty gritty, they need 3 new buyer appointments per month. So to look at this total, so I'm going to make this like super, super easy. So this person needs 3 buyer appointments per month. this person needs one listing appointment per month. So this person needs essentially one new appointment per week to make $100,000. Does that make sense to everybody? So sometimes these big numbers, they seem really complicated and big. Like, all this person needs to do when they wake up, their feet hit the ground and they go into the office or open up their laptop or wherever they're doing it, they need to go, how do I meet somebody new that I can meet with this week that's interested in buying or selling real estate? Right. So it's like, how do we simplify this entire business? In my opinion, it's this. So like, okay, my goal is to go after one new appointment per week. Like, and I'm going to make $100,000. Like, that's not a bad way to live a lifestyle. Right. And then you can improve these numbers. You can increase your conversion rates. Let's say you get really good at your listing appointment, and maybe you're 9 out of 10 here. Maybe you get really good at your buyers and you increase these to 80, whatever, let's just, right? And so then all of a sudden you don't need as many appointments. That then will knock you down almost a whole appointment. Or you go like, hey, maybe I actually increase my average GCI, increase my price point. So I don't need to sell as many houses to make that same amount of money. So there's a lot of variables that come into play when we're doing this business. But essentially, like, what I want to really nail down with you guys is the new appointments needed. If you can do one new appointment per week in this business, you have no more worries. Does anybody have any questions on any of this stuff? Any questions? Okay. All right, so we're going to keep moving. Let me see, where am I going here? So where's my sheet? This is like extra credit to keep it simple. You don't have to write all of these out, but I'd be curious to find out from you guys, how many new listing appointments do you need to go on every week? So buyer appointments, cool. We like them. They're part of the business. It's something that's there. But when I think about this business and how you actually want to grow your business and how you'll make the most amount of money, focusing on the listings is going to be your most important thing. You can see my little arrow in there. Like, you should be obsessed with this number. Hitting this weekly appointment goal is going to help you hit your yearly goal. Because if you focus on the yearly listing goal, like, the numbers will come from the listings. The more listings you have, the more signs you have, the more marketing you have, the more advertising you have, and buyers are going to come from that potentially naturally. Does anybody have any questions, any thoughts? Does anybody feel like sharing a number of their new listing appointment number they need every week?
Hey, CJ,
Yes,
do you have a printable or a PDF you could send of that packet?
I do. Yeah. If you email me, I'll email this to you guys and you can share it out to everybody.
Thank you.
But the spreadsheet, the spreadsheet's difficult to, you can't print that. That's got to be like an online on the website thing kind of deal. Okay, who has questions? Who has thoughts? Am I moving
Danny,
too fast? Am I moving too slow? Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say mine was very surprising. I think, hold on, let me go back to it real quick. For sellers, it wasn't even one, it was 0.34. So pretty much one new listing each week. Or not even really, it just says like one new listing appointment per month. And then for buyers, it said almost 1.5 per week. So that would be about 5 per month. And that was very shocking to me because, that's such a low number. But obtaining it is up to me, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So those are great numbers. So that's very doable. And so sometimes we get lost in the showing houses and doing the stuff that goes along with it. But if you just go, I'm going to focus on my appointment goals, and that's like meeting my new clients. Like, everything else, I'm going to steal it from the One Thing book. Everything else becomes easier or unnecessary. It's like getting the clients it's the key to making the money in this business. Like, all the servicing the clients, like, yeah, it's important. And it's not the thing that's going to help somebody make more money in this business. It's getting those new appointments every day or every week and going for it. And then what if you went like, well, what if I sat or went on one new appointment every day? What would my business look like? you start to think about it that way, and you went, okay, well, maybe that's extreme. What if I went on 2 new appointments every single week? What if I wanted 2 new listing appointments every single week? And you start to change your thinking on it. Like when I was in my like heaviest listing mode, I was literally like, how can I go on 3 new listing appointments every week? And that's all I cared about. I didn't care about anything else that was going in the business. Like I'm going to go on 3 new listing appointments a week. So whatever, 3 times 4. So if I'm going on 12 new listing appointments per month based on my conversion ratios, let's just say it's 50%, which is pretty average. I'm taking 6 listings a month. 6 times 12 is what? Who's better at math than I am? That's 60, 70 listings a year. And all you have to do is focus on getting 3 new listing appointments per week. And you just have to obsess over it. So it's the same way. So if you have to get 1 new listing appointment per month, you have to just obsess over it. Or whatever those appointments are, obsess over how am I going to get those? And then every single day when you go to the office, like I need to get a new appointment. Like, yeah, I have buyers that are out there looking, all the stuff. I have to service them, I have to show the houses, but like I'm going to spend my first 2 or 3 hours a day looking for that new appointment. And you have to become obsessive. So I'm going to keep moving those. Anybody else have any thoughts or want to share anything? I'm open to discussion.
I have a question also that's not on topic.
Yeah, sure.
As a newer agent, that is starting off, how do you look for those appointments? What do you do? What methods do you do to find those new appointments, to get those leads? Are you like other agents that buy subscriptions to lead generating sources, or do you have your own methods? What works best for you? All that.
Yeah, good question. Are you on the team?
Yeah, I'm on Bergansky's team.
Kathleen. Yeah, okay. So I mean, like the easiest way to get, and I'm gonna go specifically with listings, is for sale by owners. You can get the most amount of appointments in the fastest listings from FSBOs. You can just literally find those on Zillow. Like that's free and super easy, and just I used to literally just make a spreadsheet of all the for sale by owners, and I would add it to it, and I would just call them every week. They have the homeowner put their cell phone number out there. So the guys in our team will call those. If you want to spend money, you can buy expired data. So call the new expired listings. Like for me, like when I was in heavy listing mode, every single day between 8 and 8:30, I would get up and call the brand new expired listings for the day. I was a psycho over it. Like every single morning I was calling the expires. You kind of learn the other people that call, I would try to call before them, because the first person you call them increase the odds of converting them. So so FSBOs and expires, they're like the 2 best. They're not the most fun. I personally like the expires more than FSBOs. And I still do. I think expires, especially with the market being weird, are a massive opportunity for people. And then from there, it just depends. Like you can go to circle prospecting. It's a little bit more tedious, but you're gonna be calling people that nobody else is potentially calling them, to go direct to the source. Like find where you want to work and just call the shit out of people. So those are like the main ones. And from there, usually it's like, if you got to probably buy leads of some source, or you go heavy into your sphere of influence. So how can you touch your sphere of influence, like touch parentheses, or air quotes, how can you touch them at a higher rate, and more frequently, and find more people to communicate with? Or, you get into the BNIs. How do you grow your network? Are you in a networking group? Like I'll give you just a kind of a dumb example. I used to play like beer league volleyball, but it was a humongous league, and I would go up there and I would just talk about real estate with everybody. I wasn't like, hey, what about real estate? But like we would just be talking like, oh, what do you do for a living? I do real estate. Oh, and then like having those conversations over and over and over again, like you just become the real estate person. So whether you're into, I don't know, cars or a book club, or, if you're networking, or if you're like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
If there's local, like we had someone on our team there in like the knitting group or something. They got like a ton of business from it. So whatever your hobby is, just go dive deep in your hobby and just meet all the people that are into that.
Yeah.
You just become a real estate person in that group.
Gotcha.
Good
Thank
question,
you.
Joe.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So our last thing, only a few more minutes and we're almost done. So we have our goals. We have our numbers, that what we need to do every single week. Then to me, the next question is, how do you stay on track to hit your goals? most of us real estate agents, we like shiny objects. You guys have heard of the squirrel syndrome, like you see something move and you go chase it. So for me, like the thing that has helped me, and I'm going to share with you guys, the tool that I use, and again, this is pure KW stuff, is a tool called the 411. And I have an example of 411 for you guys here. So the 411 is essentially, it's a tool that, I don't know if Gary Keller created it or somebody within Keller Williams created it. I've never seen it anywhere else. And I've shown this to people outside the industry. This is not my 411. This is from an agent that I know. So essentially what a 411 is, you set your yearly goals. So very similar to the sheet we did a few in the beginning of this class. So we set our yearly goals, and it says, like, in here you see it says my annual goals. And in the 411, this never changes. And then it goes down to our monthly goals, which we basically take whatever we need to do. So if we're going to sell 12 listings a year, we're going to break it down to a monthly goal. So we want to sell one this month. And then essentially we break it down into weekly, I like to call it actions. So what do I need to do this week such that it helps me hit my monthly goal, such that it helps me hit my yearly goal? I go crazy over this. I'm like a weirdo about this. Like I have like my 5-year goals in these, and I'll actually break mine down into quarterly just because that's the way my brain works, like I told you guys earlier. But this is, and I actually have a link to this also. I'll share with you guys. I'll put it in so there's a blank 411 for you guys. Does anybody use a 411?
I do.
I do.
I like it. It sounded like there was a few in there. So I'm going to put a link in here. So I just put a link to a blank 411 for you guys. So you guys can all click on this, open it. Like the last time, make sure you make a copy of it. So go ahead and click file, make a copy. Name it to whatever you want. So whatever, Jill's 401, whatever you want to call it. So it's the same kind of thing. So if you guys remember earlier, we set our yearly goals. So you want to enter your yearly goals in here again. So here's the 2 categories. So business and job, and then personal, financial, and personal. So we have the 2 categories in here. So I literally just, and this is just me. And I own a few businesses. So for me, I actually break it down into different businesses that I have and like what my goals are for those businesses. Again, I'm an extreme psychopath kind of person, so I go crazy with it. But like, whatever. I don't know. Like, well, let's go to our example here, and I'll show you guys. So you can see this person. So they separate their job and business goals. You can do that if you want to, and separate your personal and personal financial. I clump them together just because it starts to get chaotic. So this person wanted to close $15 million in transactions, 100 closed transactions, and then they want to be a master of script and listing presentation. So when you do these, you want to make sure that they're measurable. You don't want to have just some generic, I don't even love master of script and listing presentation, because like, what does that mean? How does one know when they are master of scripts and listing presentations? Like, so I want to know something. Like for me, I would put something along the lines of like practice scripts and listing presentations 52 times a year. So the way that I like to set goals, I don't like to say work out 3 days a week, master my listing presentation 3 days a week. Like I'm going to put a whole number on there. Like I'm going to put, if I'm going to do it once a week, I'm going to put 52 times. So then I know, so then if I go a week or two with hitting the goal, then I go a couple weeks without then getting off track. Like if you just go 3 or 4 days a week, then you're just completely off track for the rest of the year. So I like the big, and I actually learned that from a guy he has a massive net worth, like over $100 million. He was the one that taught me to set goals that way. It's the same thing. It's like, if you want to like lose weight, you go, okay, well, how do you lose weight? Well, I'm going to work out. Like, okay. Most people say, well, I'm going to work out 2 or 3 days a week. Like, okay, cool. But like, what if after the second week, you only do it 1 day? Then you have to do it 5 days the next week. And then what if you miss 2 weeks beyond that? And then you're just done for the year, and then you're never going to pick the habit back up. So I'll go, well, I'm going to work out, whatever the number is, like 4 days a week times 52. I don't know what that math turns into. I'm going to work out 200 days for the year. And then like, that's my goal. So then even if I miss a month, like I can still make up that 200 days. Like then I just find a little way to check off the boxes and hit it. That's a total side note there, but it's just something for when you're setting goals. So I don't know how deep you guys want me to go in the 411. I know that it's not a 411 specific class, but I think it's one of those you should definitely try and enter goals into it and see how it goes. So going into the spreadsheet that I shared with you guys, your yearly goals, write them in here. And then for the monthly goals, you can even turn this into quarterly goals if you want to use the first sheet that we use for today's class. Write them in there, whatever it is. So if this is March, let's just say if you're gonna use monthly, like, whatever your goal was. So based on the business planning, the economic model, if your goal was to take, it was to go on 2 new listing appointments, write that in there. And then for the thing that I actually think that people get confused, I actually met with like a really high-end maps coach a few years ago, and they broke down the 411 for me of how it should work. The weekly goals, actually, it's not your goals, it's your actions. So what actions am I going to take this week such that I can hit my monthly goals? I like to think about it as this way. I write this in mine, my most important next step. So I look at my 411 either every Sunday night or every Monday morning or sometime during the weekend. And I'll think about last week and I'll check off the boxes of the things that I did. Then I'll look at my week ahead and say, what's the thing that I need to do to push my business forward this week? What do I need to accomplish to hit my goals? And this is where you stay on track, because you know what your yearly goals are, you know what your monthly goals are, and it's what do I need to do this week to get going in the right direction? So if your goal is to go on 2 new listing appointments a week, like you're not putting I don't know, like you're not going to put in there like research, you're not putting in whatever, I don't know, something dumb. I don't know, books about whatever, I'm being silly, books about fitness. Like that's not going to be an action you're going to take to get like, so then you don't stay on track. But it might be like, I don't know, make 50 dials, right? So like, I know that if I make 50 dials, I'm going to get myself, that's like the action that I'm going to take this week to go on 2 new listing appointments for the month, because that's my goal. Because I know that if I go on 2 new listing appointments a month based on my economic model, I'm going to hit my goal of, whatever it was, like sell 12 listings for the year, right? Or like whatever, or if that's $100,000, whatever, does that make sense of how I'm explaining that? So what's my action? What's my most important next step? So literally I'll ask myself, like, what's the most important thing I need to do this week to help me hit my goals? And it's an action. It's not a goal. Like, so it's got to be a thing that it's like you're moving, something you can accomplish for that week. Like, to like take 2 listings, like cool. Like I like that as a goal, but like, how are you going to take the 2 listings? So maybe it's, I don't know, like go to like, or like, this could be like research, like networking groups. I'm not going to say research. I'm going to say call 5 networking groups. So now I know this week, you're like, okay, I'm going to call 5 networking groups because that's going to get me closer. Because now I'm taking action every single day, because at some point I need to join a networking group. So it's like, how do you start with something so small to help you get action? So now this week, cool, I need to make 50 dials and I'm going to call 5 networking groups, right? So then I go, cool, now I'm on track to doing the thing. Because sometimes if you say join networking group, it's like, yeah, fine, like, and that's a good goal, it's like a thing that, but like, how does one join a networking group? So I like to get like really granular of like what the thing is that I need to do to make sure that I'm taking the right action to hit my goal. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions on or thoughts on any of that? Okay, so that's essentially what I have today. You guys should have a copy of that blank 411. I encourage you to at least play around with it. Again, I look at mine every Sunday or Monday morning, depending on what I have going on. Sometimes I'll do it Saturday, but look at it once a week. Look at, make it a habit. Put it in your calendar, set an alarm, whatever you need to do. I've done these with people before, and they get gung ho on them for a couple of weeks, and then they're off track after a few weeks. Like set an appointment with yourself in some way to make sure you do it Saturday or Monday, or Sunday or Monday. So you guys have set goals. We went through your economic models. If you guys need any of the things that we went through today, email me. I'm always happy to help. I'll put my email in the chat box. So if you guys need anything or have any questions for me, I'm always happy to help. Jill, is there anything that I missed or skipped through or something else that you want to talk through?
I don't think so. This was so valuable. CJ, thank you so very much.
Yeah.
I feel like we have a lot of action items, and I'm just going to share an aha really quick. When you said the weekly goal, like I've always looked at that like goal, looking at that as your action, that was such a light bulb moment for me.
Yeah, so Sajak Patel was the one that he broke that down for me, because like I met with him, he kind of showed me all the stuff. I mean, he's the CEO of Keller Williams now, which is crazy. Yeah, he was the one that was like, yeah, it's the action that you want to take this week. So what are the things you're going to do to like get your engine moving to go, like achieve those things, and then you'll end up hitting the bigger things. So
Yep.
it's not a to-do list, so don't take it as that, but it's kind of, but it's more the actions you're going to take to your goals. Well, cool. Well, thanks, Joe. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Again, my email's in there. If you guys have any questions, I'm always happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you, CJ. And thank you everyone for hopping on.
Thank you.
Have
Thanks,
a great
guys.
day.